Fala galera, sejam bem-vindos a mais um React aqui no canal do Mundo Tri. Eu sou Gabriel Nogueira e vamos reagir ao podcast de Ian Frodeno com ninguém mais, ninguém menos que Christian Blumenfeld. Quando eu soltei um outro React que eu fiz do Frodeno, foi bem no dia que ele soltou do Blumenfeld. Recebi o comentário, pô, você tem que fazer o do Blumenfeld e tudo. Tem mais ou menos um mês isso aí, um pouco mais. Mas a gente estava focado ali na questão do Ironman Brasil, então já tinha os vídeos preparados e tudo. E depois do Ironman Brasil tive que tirar um pouco o pé também de trabalho, mas agora vamos lá reagir. Esse podcast ficou muito, muito massa. Eu vou deixar o link aqui embaixo para vocês assistirem completo. Tem outros reacts aqui que eu já fiz também desse podcast do Frodeno. E no momento que eu estou gravando esse podcast aqui, o Frodeno soltou um episódio com o Scott DeRue, que é o presidente global do Ironman. É bem legal o episódio, muitos aprendizados ali. O Scott é um cara que está fazendo muito bem ao esporte, mas vamos falar disso depois. Vamos olhar aqui então o reagir ao podcast de Ian Frodeno com Christian Blumenfeld. Lembrando que eu vou deixar os links todos aqui embaixo dos nossos parceiros, cupons, tudo, para vocês aproveitarem, tá? Bom, eu vou pular direto aqui para o 4.10 aqui, que no começo eles estão fazendo as perguntas ali, falando o que esse Going Mental significa para você e tal, e o Frodeno começa a falar aqui do começo de temporada do Christian
Four
Blumenfeld.
races, sort of 2.5 continents, almost like let's just say a lot of travel in between. Two full distance races, two half distance races. I mean, then the first one goes wrong, goes down the drain. And
Aí ele começa a falar, né, do começo da temporada, então ele fez dois fulls e dois 70.3, quatro provas no total, e fala da primeira prova dele que foi também da Nova Zelândia, né, onde tudo deu meio errado aí.
or not down the drain, but I mean by your standards, you go out there and it feels like the one thing that can hold you back is mechanical things. But what I'm really interested in is a lot of athletes after that first race would have been like, no, this is a terrible idea. Like, there's no way I should be doing this. What made you get on a plane to Geelong like 6 days later?
So first of
Aí o Frodeno fala, né, muitos atletas, talvez depois que tenha dado errado ali na prova, tudo, tenham abortado, né, o plano de seguir para uma segunda prova, né, o Blumenfeld foi para Geelong, na Austrália, 6 dias depois. E aí ele tá perguntando, né, que fez você seguir o teu planejamento ali, mesmo o começo dele já tendo dado errado.
it was sort of a untraditional schedule. It was a bit optimistic, and even when I sort of talked through the schedule with, I had a quick brief or like discussion with Olav about what he was thinking about it, and he thought like it is risky.
Ele falou, né, que já era um planejamento arriscado, né, de fazer essa quantidade de provas, para quem não lembra, foi Nova Zelândia, depois de Long, aí ele viajou para os Estados Unidos, fez 70.3 Oceanside e ficou por lá para fazer depois o Ironman do Texas, tá? E ele falou que conversou com o Olaf, né, os noruegueses hoje se treinam, né, então o Christian, o Gustav e o Casper se treinam, o Olaf é o antigo treinador deles, mas o Olaf ainda permanece como um consultor, um mentor deles aí.
Sort of had to we were discussing back and forth, but I still really believe that I will definitely bounce back from each race quite quickly, and the idea was to come in with a high volume going into that block and then sort of just surf through with a little bit more intensity in between. But then getting into the first race and like being 15 minutes or so behind Trevor Foley in the race and just feeling crap.
E aí ele falou, né, que ele achava que poderia, né, seguir das provas ali, enfim, pelo todo o volume que ele tem e tudo.
It's definitely like a point where you sort of question the decisions. If I wasn't able to turn it around for Geelong, and like imagine having two poor races in a row and then having like to still travel rest of the loop around the globe in order to finish the travel schedule would have been tough.
Aí ele fala, né, imagina se ele tivesse, já era tudo arriscado, imagina, já fez uma prova ruim, a segunda prova ainda é ruim, ainda é pior, né, então como seria isso mentalmente, né?
So I think I felt I was in a good shape going into New Zealand. I was just a little bit off, like I was struggling with a little bit of fever like a few days before the race, and felt that sort of was in good shape, but wasn't able to get out in the full distance. And
Ele falou que sentiu, né, na Nova Zelândia que ele estava numa boa forma. Para quem não lembra, ele teve um problema mecânico na bike, né? O clipe dele soltou, mas que ele se sentia bem fisicamente.
luckily, I felt good on the training just straight after, and also having when I was going into that block of racing, I was always just looking one race ahead. So it definitely helped with motivation to have guys like Jelligins and Hagen Wild on the start list in Geelong.
Aí ele falou que também o que ajudou foi ver que na próxima prova que ele enfrentaria, que ele competiria, tinha o Yael Rins e tinha o Hayden Wild competindo também, então isso ajudou ele a olhar a próxima prova. Então, beleza, deu isso aqui, vamos ver o que tem na próxima. Vamos olhar para a próxima, já foi, chega.
So I was always just looking at the next race rather than thinking 3 or 2 races ahead. And I think that was helping me through that process, as well as, I was recovering really, really well and had good legs on 3 out of the 4 races.
Quick
Aí ele falou que tinha boas pernas aí depois, né, do que ele terminou a última prova, então ele seguiu com os planos ali. Vou pular a propaganda aqui.
The turnaround is something I really want to get into later. Also, like one of your leading slogans, but it really got me thinking that, okay, so it's not just a PR mode. You actually had a little bit of doubt maybe after the first one. But now you finished that set of racing with what should be considered a world record. I mean, it's what should be considered the fastest time ever. If you consider it's a proper swim and that race, I mean, phenomenal performance. What does that do for your mind leading into Kona?
Agora ele faz a outra pergunta, né? Ele começa perguntando, né? Quando o negócio dá errado, como é que você volta disso? E aí o negócio deu tão certo que no Texas ele fez, né, o tempo mais rápido da história oficialmente, né? Então ele tinha um tempo rápido em Cozumel, né? Então o primeiro Ironman dele, só tirar um negócio aqui. No primeiro Ironman dele, ele foi em Cozumel 2021. E ele já cravou, deixa eu só pegar o tempo aqui para você certinho. Ele fez 7:21:11, mas o tempo não foi considerado recorde, porque a natação lá é toda a favor, né, da correnteza. Então não foi validado como um tempo, como até o Frodeno corrige, né, o tempo mais rápido da história. Aí ele vai no Texas e faz 7:21:24, e aí sim o tempo validado, tudo certo, né? E só trazendo para vocês o resultado desses 4 blocos aqui. Ele foi sexto na Nova Zelândia, depois primeiro em Geelong, primeiro em Oceanside, na Sedona Von 3, Geelong, Sedona Von 3, Oceanside, depois primeiro no Ironman do Texas. Então, até que deu bom esse bloco dele, né?
Definitely a good confident booster again.
E aí o Frodeno pergunta, né, como é que isso aí, que agora deu o tempo mais rápido, te prepara para Kona, né?
One thing to do quick splits like that, but also in one way, Martin Van Riel was quite close to me, like 90 seconds behind in a full distance Ironman. It's not far, so even though I was the stronger one on the third lap of the run, I was actually winning more against other guys in that race at this time of the year last year. So I still feel like I have to do the build up towards October right.
Olha que interessante, olha como é que ele enxerga as coisas, né? Então, 7:21:24, pô, feliz, o tempo mais rápido, mas ele já falou, olha como ele analisa. Por isso que eu gosto de fazer o react aqui, para trazer isso para vocês. Ele ganhou a prova com o tempo mais rápido da história, mas ele já fala, lá na prova, o Martin Van Riel estava muito perto de mim. Então, ele terminou com 7:21:24, o Van Riel fez 7:22:56, 1 minuto e meio só. Casper Storm fez 7:23:50. Então ficaram todos muito próximos. E aí ele já fala: ano passado, nessa mesma época, eu estava botando mais tempo em cima dos caras. Agora eu estou botando menos. Então eu preciso acertar toda a minha construção até Kona, porque a conta que eu faço é essa.
Because I would say I was still the big favorite for the World Championship last year at this point of the season. So I still had that in my mind. And
E ele falou que no ano passado, nessa mesma época da temporada, ele era o favorito pro título e acabou não ganhando, né?
yeah, I do think that like with all the attention is now in the Pro Series, like it brings all the best athletes together for all the races. It's also really lifting up the level in the sport, and it's making it more challenging. Like it's more guys who can be up there and fight for the win. And
Ele fala, né, tem mais atletas agora no Pro Series, né? O Pro Series está conseguindo reunir muitos atletas, um field sempre muito forte. Então isso me motiva, né, a ficar mais competitivo, porque é forte para vencer prova dessa, você tem que estar melhor preparado, né?
Like it was still guys who maybe didn't play their cards the smartest, like Jonas Schomburg to be one of the guys who was going out in a 3:05 pace. If he's pacing it a little bit better in Kona, he can be a dangerous guy. Jelle Geens had his first one, so even though
Ele falou, o Jonas Schomburg, por exemplo, era um cara perigoso que acabou fazendo o estratégia de pacing, né, de ritmo errado, ele saiu correndo para 3:05. Ele falou: se eu tivesse feito uma estratégia um pouquinho melhor, pode ser um cara muito perigoso em Kona. Falou do Jelle Rins também, que acabou não terminando essa prova, que agora está lesionado também, então não sabemos nem se o Jelle Rins vai conseguir ir para Kona.
I was able to get on top of sort of taking the win in maybe one of the strongest races outside of a World Championship. It's still a different beast, I guess, in Kona.
Mas que ele fica satisfeito, cara, de ter vencido uma prova, talvez a prova mais forte, o estatística mais forte, fora de um mundial, né? Mas que ele acha que é outro, quando é outro bicho.
And even like your countryman, Patrick Lange, he tend to show up with some amazing legs there. So yes,
Fala
like,
do Patrick Lang também, que sabe correr muito bem em Kona.
it's good to be able to tick off some boxes. But I still have the feeling that it is 4 years since my last World Championship title, and that's something that's sort of coming back on my mind. Like, okay, this year I really have to do it right.
E olha que legal, cara. Ele falou: tem 4 anos do meu título mundial. Quando ele ganhou foi em St. George, né? Ele nunca ganhou em Kona. Então ele falou: cara, isso aqui fica voltando na minha cabeça. E é isso que eu tenho que pensar.
That's exactly what I'm trying to say. Yes, physically, it's super amazing, right? But if you look at your Kona build and everybody's Kona build, you have this long build up and you go to altitude and then you try and put in a bit of heat preparation and, you try and do everything perfect. Whereas this block, in my words, was kamikaze. Like, it was a kamikaze 4-race block. Like, it hasn't been done before. And according to every physiology, but also mentally, I mean, coming from a full distance race and traveling and all these kind of things mentally makes you kind of fatigued. And so I'm wondering, doesn't that point to you that that's actually the perfect preparation for you? Because you just have to be in the zone. You can only focus on the next race and you can't overblow the big target.
Yeah, I agree.
Aí o Jordano fala, né? Pra mim, na minha concepção, né? O que você montou de prova esse ano foi kamikaze, né? Ele falou, vai contra o que os fisiologistas falam e tudo, mas você não acha que isso é bom pra você porque você tá sempre na zona, né? In the zone, né? Naquele a parte mental, né? Competitiva ali que você tá focado sempre na próxima prova. Você não acha que isso pode ajudar?
I agree. Like, but that's like, if I do the same build up for Kona, like I've been thinking about doing a classic Roth, Nice, and then Kona, then people will sort of blame it. They will say, oh, like if I'm not ending up not winning Hawaii, they'll say that's because you did the season build up. Like you're just ruining it yourself. So
Ele falou, engraçado que essas pessoas vão falar, né? Que eu vou fazer Challenge Route, depois vou fazer na Montreux de Nice, na Mundial, e depois fazer Kona. Aí se eu não ganhar Kona, vão falar, tá vendo? Você botou muita prova ali e tal.
in one way, I would like to do the same, but also I feel it is risky to put in 5 full distance races in one season before Kona. Like,
Ele falou, e eu também acho que é arriscado botar, né, 5 provas de full distance antes, numa temporada, né? Mas
I guess even doing 4, it's a bit on the borderline many. I still haven't decided what to do with the second half of the season. Not just because of what other people are saying, but in the same time, like I feel that my
e muita gente está falando que talvez ele não vai fazer o Mundial sendo bom 3 de início, né? Vai fazer Route e depois já se prepara para Havaí.
build for Nice last year was good. Like I thought I was in pretty good shape. I was maybe just under fueling a little bit on the run there, and that was maybe combined with a little bit poor pacing. Like I went out a little bit aggressively on the run, following Gustav rather than just staying at the more ideal pace like Casper did. So
Ele falou que, né, pro ano passado ele estava bem início, ele acha que o erro dele foi uma estratégia de pacing também, né? Para quem não lembra, ele, Gustav Iden e Casper Storm, Sam Laidlow e Martin Van Riel e Nick Thompson saíram juntos para correr. Logo no começo, os treinos noruegueses abriram um pouco, logo depois o Casper ficou. Ficou Gustav e Blumenfeld. E depois eles foram ali muito agressivos, atacaram cedo. Depois eles foram sentindo um pouco mais o ritmo. O Casper Storm, que segurou um pouco no começo, foi, buscou, ultrapassou e venceu. O Gustav Iden foi vice-campeão e o Christian acabou terminando em terceiro.
I want to like sort of rip everything apart of what I did last year just because I came third. I think I could still do somewhat similar of that build up for the World Championship. And as well, I was close in 2022. I was like in the battle with Gustav until Energy Lab. So as in one way, I feel I don't need to redo everything compared to what I've done before. It's more like getting it right on race day.
Ele falou que no build-up, né, na construção dele, né, no ciclo ali, ele acha que não precisa reinventar a roda. Em 2022 também ele competiu com o Gustav Iden até o Energy Lab, depois deu uma sentida, então ele acha que não precisa fazer mais muita coisa tão mágica, ele precisa continuar treinando e acertar no dia da prova, né?
You said you put some emphasis on what people think, or at least you are aware of it. And then you followed Gustav instead of doing the thing that is what you actually somewhere inside knows is part of your method. Why do you think that is? Because I think your approach is very methodical, but what is it in your mind that you need to kind of flick the switch to then stick to your guns?
I guess.
Aí o Frodeno pergunta, né, sobre, cara, sua abordagem de treino é muito analítica, né? Os noruegueses medem tudo, fazem lactato direto, enfim, tem muita base científica, mas ele falou, aí no dia da prova você segue os teus instintos. Então, o que faz virar essa chave? O que você acha?
So if you pull back to Nice last year, I was sort of afraid that he would just have a magical day, and I thought it would be easier to defend myself by following him and then getting the advantage by staying with him, than maybe just trusting my own pace for a second half.
Ele falou, né? No caso específico de 2024, ele ficou com o Gustav Iden porque acreditou que a melhor estratégia era estar com o Gustav Iden ali. Se conhece, né? Treinam juntos e tal, mas uma estratégia de defesa dele foi atacar junto com o Gustav Iden, né? Então, o Gustav Iden vai, eu vou com ele, que eu acredito que eu posso correr mais que ele na segunda parte da prova.
So yeah, it is scary to do it in a world championship, but I feel that was maybe what I was learning from what Casper did last year, and I was also doing a little bit the same strategy in Texas 2 weeks ago, like let the people up front do their damage, break their legs, and then just wait for that second half to run. And
Aí já falou que no Texas ele fez isso, né? De segurar um pouquinho mais, esperar a galera se matar mais, depois ele vai crescendo na prova.
Like even on the second lap in Texas, out of the 3 laps, I was more focusing on getting the nutrition in than going for sort of trying to catch up to Martin.
Ele falou, né, fiquei mais focado na minha nutrição e tudo, ao invés de acelerar para pegar o Martin. Então, foquei mais na última volta, eram 3 voltas no Texas. Então, mais na última volta que ele focou.
Logan, I don't know if you still have it on your bike, but it was such, like, it hit home so much. It hurts more to lose.
A Fernanda tá falando de uma frase que ele deixa na bike dele, que é It hurts more to lose. Dói mais perder.
Because so many people like think of the great goal and think of all of this, but I've talked to a few athletes now, and at the end of the day, they're just like, Jesus, thank God I didn't lose, you know? And it resonates so much. But how is it, or what is it, that your deepest fuel is a fear of loss?
I think it's
Mas vamos falar, como é que para você que o seu maior combustível é o medo de perder?
comes down to that a little bit with like going mental, and the attitude a lot of athletes is having is that they're looking at themselves as the number one. Like that's the order we're having in the race. People love to have the bib number one on their bib, like that's sort of the world we're living in. I think it was the same with you when you were racing. Like you looked at yourself as the number one racer, and like when you came into the race as a favorite, you also wanted to get out of the race as a favorite, and then like the world is in level. And I think.
Ele tá falando, né, que é muito também nessa parte mental aí, que ele falou, cara, muitas vezes você tá como número 1 ali no peito, né, você vai como bib número 1, mas você precisa terminar a prova como número 1 também, você precisa ganhar a prova, né.
That's the same how I'm looking at it. Like I'm looking at myself as the sort of the guy who's supposed to win the races, and if I do, it's just like ticking off the box.
Aí olha que eu falo também, de novo, de analisar o alto rendimento. Aí falou, eu entro nas provas e, de acordo com os outros, eu sou o cara que pode vencer a prova. E eu acredito nisso. E quando eu venço a prova, eu tô só ticando checking the box, né? Então, só tiquei ali e falo, ganhei.
Of course, it tastes good, but it's
É claro que, né, o gosto é bom, né?
yeah, it hurts way more to lose to someone.
Mas para ele dói muito mais não ticar essa caixinha, né? Não perder para alguém.
And that comes down to like if I win a race, like of course it's a sweet feeling the next few hours that the world is in balance. But if I don't do it, it's 2 or 3 or even 4 weeks where just it comes back on the mind. And
olha que legal, ele falou, né? Quando eu venço uma prova, eu fico ali 3, 4 horas ali feliz e tudo. Mas quando eu perco, fico 2, 3 semanas ali na minha cabeça ainda isso voltando.
When I'm jumping into the pool and then just thinking about the small mistakes I did in training that maybe were leading up to the loss.
Ele fala, né, que ele fica pensando nos pequenos erros que ele pode ter cometido no ciclo até lá.
It's just so painful, and I think that's driving me a lot in training. And
e acaba ajudando ele nos treinos.
even like the feeling I had on Queen K in 2024 when I was sort of shuffling an hour slower on the run course than my scheduled time. Like just the reflection that's going through the mind on those awful days is one thing, but I also think that just going through those races makes the good one feel even better. Like if I compare the race in New Zealand where I was struggling from the first and second K on the run, and when you're looking down on the watch and you realize it's 40K to go, and I'm sort of out of the race. I have to pull the sort of emergency brake in order to be able to finish the race.
E ele acaba, né, que é por causa de tudo isso que o sentimento é bom quando você vence. Mas ele fala também na parte aqui de, né, quando você tá na prova e as coisas não estão direito, como no caso da Nova Zelândia, ele olha no relógio e fala, putz, ainda falta 40 km para eu terminar isso aqui, então eu preciso jogar um jogo diferente, eu preciso segurar, senão não termino a prova.
Compared to having the legs I had in Texas, where it's just like, okay, I'm running 3:30 pace now, it's smooth, we're counting up, 18.
E pensando ali, né, no pace e tudo, e falei, encontrar no Texas, tava correndo a 3:30, tava suave, tava bom.
24K, getting close to 30K before I'm even feeling tired. So,
sem me sentir cansado.
Yeah, it's an interesting contrast between the good and the bad days.
Ele fala que esse é um contraste interessante entre os bons e maus dias.
I can relate so much because, exactly like you say, validating is not the same as coming back. And on that note, do you think that perhaps New Zealand was actually the key to have like a bad race first up and then just have this hunger and a little bit of something else spurring you on?
O Frodeno pergunta, né? Você acha que essa derrota na Nova Zelândia que acendeu ali, deixou você mais faminto ainda?
Could have been, because also the race in New Zealand was maybe the easiest race out of the four. Like I would say that was the least stacked field. When it came to Geelong.
Aí falou, né? Porque Nova Zelândia, em teoria, era o statista mais tranquilo, né? Em teoria. Menos quantidade de atleta menor, tudo, ao invés de, por exemplo, de Geelong.
I had Hayden and Jelle. Oceanside was sort of what people call the real season opener, and then Texas again, one of the strongest fields. So maybe I was a little bit like underprepared as well, like not.
Então ele acha que ele se preparou mal, né?
In terms of my physical shape, and maybe like mentally, maybe.
Ele falou mentalmente, então ele também achou, tá tranquilo, não tá tão cheio esse field, consigo vencer.
Maybe I was coming into T2 and thinking that, I have it now. I just have to put together a okay run rather than being on the toes and being sort of more on the aggressive side. So maybe I took a little bit too easy on the first one, and I was like a slap in the face.
Ele acha que foi muito suave na primeira e tomou esse tapa na cara, na primeira prova, no caso.
Well, I mean, you certainly didn't take it easy in Geelong, coming 90 seconds down to both Jelle and Hayden. I mean, they're not exactly slow runners. So I just really think I get the physiology and I get that you're able to run a 106 most days of the week. But I do wonder if you need that little bit of a setback to activate it in you. You know what I mean?
A Frodeno insiste um pouco nisso. Ele fala que ele correu para 1:06 ali em Geelong. Ele falou, cara, eu sei que você é um cara que pode correr isso mais vezes e tudo, mas quero entender se essa porrada, né, da Nova Zelândia que te fez ainda ficar mais focado também, mas correr mais forte.
I'm not sure. I think in the long run, like it's good to have those bad days in order to just do everything in the preparation well. Like if I was just like having an easy win in New Zealand, an easy win in Geelong, like then probably I would lose the guard a little bit for Oceanside.
Ele falou que é bom tudo o que aconteceu também, porque se ele tivesse vencido ainda na Nova Zelândia, tivesse uma vitória fácil na Nova Zelândia, uma vitória fácil em Geelong, talvez pudesse ter impactado o resto da temporada dele e achar que estava tudo bem. E ali ele viu que talvez não estivesse tudo bem.
Because it is tricky to be on the toes, like, and being focused for 12 months straight. So I do think it helps to have some tough days.
Então ele falou que é bom
again,
ter os dias
I do
ruins
also
assim.
enjoy racing the guys up front, and it wouldn't have come easy anyway, especially not having raced Hayden for the last 3-4 years in short course, and he was definitely a guy I also wanted to show that I could beat on the run.
Então foi bom que ele encontrou também caras que ele queria enfrentar de novo, como o Hayden Wild, né, que ele enfrentou muito na curta distância, mas estavam se enfrentando acho, pela primeira vez em meia distância. Ele queria competir contra o cara, queria vencer o cara, né?
So I was maybe more mentally prepared for a run than being put under pressure on the bike.
Então ele falou que estava mais preparado, acho que na pressão na corrida, porque para correr com esses caras, do que na bicicleta.
And maybe they were a bit opposite.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have the same thing in a run, in a training session as well? You know, that when a race doesn't go well, but in a training session, if a training session is just like, 20, 30 watts off, or you're just a few seconds off, does it bother you?
I was in
A Froden pergunta, né, como é que ele fica em sessões de treino, né? Se vai que o treino tá um pouco ruim ali, você ficou 20, 30 watts ali para baixo, como é que você lida com isso?
Not really. Like if I'm getting dropped by Gustav and Casper, then it sort of hurts more. But more often, I would say I'm the one who is sort of setting the level out. So if you're doing
Aí ele já falou, né? Se eu tô treinando, né, com o Gustav e o Casper, eles me deixam para trás, aí dói mais, mas geralmente sou eu que tô puxando o pace ali.
6 or 7 by 10 minutes on the bike, somehow every time we are standing on the bottom of the hill, the two of them are just looking at me and waiting for me to start the intervals, and then they sort of follow a few
E aí
seconds
ele que
behind.
puxa a
So
galera ali
I do
também,
feel
então...
often I'm the one who's sort of setting the pace for the session, and then they continues. Or just follow along, and then maybe after 3 or 4 intervals, they are coming to the front if they feel for it. But I'm also sort of fine with sort of adjusting the training. Like I'm not stressing about doing a threshold run at 3:20 pace if I'm feeling like garbage. But I'm also not celebrating a threshold session if I'm doing sub 3 minute pace. I would say my
Aí ele falou que ele... Outro aprendizado legal, né? Que se ele não tá se sentindo bem e tudo, e uma sessão de... Sei lá, uma sessão de threshold, né? Imagina o threshold desse cara deve ser 3.0, 2.5 alguma coisa, 2.59, 2.55, alguma coisa ali. Talvez por cada maratona um pouquinho mais alto, né? 3.05, tudo. Ele falou, cara, eu não vou me martirizar muito por fazer uma sessão de threshold a 3.20, que seria ruim para ele, porque eu estou me sentindo mal, mas eu também não vou celebrar muito se eu fizer uma 3.0, por exemplo. Então, é mais um treino.
emotions for the training can be quite flat.
Então, as
Like
emoções dele nos treinos são meio flat.
of course, it is easier to do a good session, but like I'm not getting stoked necessarily by having a good session because I know that it is in the races where it matters.
Aí ele fala, né, que não... Eu não vou ficar... Deixa eu botar só isso aqui, que ele trocou, né? Ele não... Ele não vai ficar feliz demais, né? No treino e tudo, nem ficar tão triste, que o que importa é o dia da prova.
At the door and just leave it at that session. But then, yeah, I mean, times are different, and also you race so much more that you probably have more race experience. But I do find it interesting that you have this like this kind of setback in a race, and same thing in Kona, because you mentioned it in 24 in Kona, you know, and that was I mean, it was a tough year, right? You came into Paris, which I'd love to get into a moment, but then you have this walking race, you're an hour behind. I've done the same thing in 2017, and it took me like months. I wrote off the season, then I went into the winter, and I took all this fury. You come back, and a couple of weeks later set a world record.
Aí ele fala, né, sobre as coisas darem errado para ele no Frodeno e tudo, que para ele demora muito, muito tempo para ele voltar lá, né, que fica meio bravo remoendo isso. E já falou, cara, você foi para Paris, as coisas não deram certo, e semanas depois você já tá competindo no Campeonato Mundial, né, em Kona e tal.
Like, does it ever feel like that's enough to make up for it?
Oh yeah.
Aí ele pergunta, né, você acha que alguma hora você sente que era isso, tipo, precisava de tudo isso e tudo?
Comparing the New Zealand race, I was thinking Kona in 24, because then after Kona in 24, I was basically in the basement. So I had to have a couple of months rest. And I was like, in my race schedule back then, I also had the plan to do New Zealand, do 73 World Championship. I think it was in December. But yeah, on Queen K, I was just, I called it an off season. I told myself, okay, I need a month rest, no training, just completely off. So
Então, mas aí ele fala, né, que em Kona ele tava no... Não tava tão bem, porque, quem não lembra, ele competiu Paris em agosto, aí pegou a vaga para Kona, e fez Kona, pegou a vaga logo depois, as 3 semanas depois competiu para pegar a vaga, foi para Kona, e depois em Kona ele sentiu que realmente... e ele competiria o Mundial 70.3 na Nova Zelândia, que seria foi em dezembro, a meados de dezembro, e ele falou que depois de Kona, ele falou, cara, não, eu preciso realmente parar, preciso de um mês sem treino, tô cansado.
I think that was just restarting everything, and of course I was hungry for the comeback, but I also knew I had to recharge the batteries, because after both Paris and Kona again, I was drained from energy because of I would say straight from the 2021 Olympic Games, it was basically no rest, because it went straight
Aí ele fala que estava muito, muito cansado, realmente precisava recarregar as baterias, e falou que basicamente depois da Olimpíada de Tóquio, que foi 2021, né, ele não parou.
from the Olympics to the World Series Grand Final to trying to get ready for Kona before it was postponed. And I did the Cozumel race in the end of 2021 and then St. George. And it was always like a new sort of challenge I had. And when I was done with Kona in 2022, it was almost straight back into short distance racing because I went back to St. George, 7th race, and then to Bermuda. So it's like no real rest until Paris. And even going into Paris, the whole 2024 season, I wasn't able to bridge up that 1 minute gap I had to both Alex and Hayden. And
E ele falou, né? Foi indo nisso, novos desafios, tudo. E assim que acabou Kona em 2022, né? Para quem não lembra, então ele foi Tóquio 2021, né? Não 2020, né? Por causa da pandemia. Fez Cozumel 2021, que eu trouxe para vocês o resultado. O Mundial de Kona, que seria em 2021, foi jogado para maio de 2022, foi St. George. E depois teve Kona 2022 também. Então ele fez as duas, porque ele foi campeão em St. George. E logo depois que acabou Kona, ele já recomeçou o bloco dele de curta distância, né? Porque ele voltou para curta distância para tentar ser medalhista de novo de ouro em Paris.
the races early season in 2024 went, I would
E ele falou que nunca conseguiu tirar o gap que ele tinha de 1 minuto para o Alex e o Hayden
say
Wire.
like poorly, like I was just not able to get
Começou
the
no
leg speed up
2024
again on
bem
the
mal
run.
e tal.
And I would say maybe the most challenging part mentally there were that after the altitude camp in Fondrome before the Olympics, when I went down to sea level, I didn't get to respond on the run feeling that I was that I understood.
Ele falou que quando foi fazer ali no começo da temporada de 2024 e tudo, fez treinamento à altitude. Quando desceu, ele entendeu que o corpo dele não estava respondendo do jeito que ele queria, que a coisa não estava legal ali.
I needed in order to fight for the win. Like the run splits
O que
was
ele
the same
precisava fazer para vencer as Olimpíadas.
after that altitude camp as they were before.
E ele falou, né, que tinha um tempo antes do camp de altitude, foi para altitude, quando voltasse, esperava que esse tempo melhorasse e não melhorou.
My race in Yokohama a few months earlier. So I felt like, okay,
E ficou igual o Yokohama que ele tinha corrido no começo do ano.
this is I'm not at the level I need to be in order to win the race. But then
Então, tá vendo? O atleta sabe também. Ele falou, cara, eu não tô no nível que eu preciso para ganhar a prova.
again, like you still sort of try to tell yourself that okay, there's still a way to
Aí ele falou, cara, tentou meio que se
win.
convencer.
Like there's still, if I put everything on the line, if I have magical legs, if it just suddenly turn around somehow magical, then I still have a chance. But I would say deep inside, I sort of realized that the level I had in training was probably not enough.
Aí ele falou que, né, você tenta se convencer e tudo, coloca na cabeça, e se eu tiver um dia mágico, né, se alguma coisa, ele falou até magic leg, né, se as pernas milagrosamente respondem diferente, tudo, eu tenho uma chance, mas ele falou, deep inside, né, internamente eu já sabia que não tinha chance.
While going into Tokyo, I felt that I'm 90% chance. I have like 90% chance of winning the race. I just don't need to do anything stupid. And to go into the sort of following games as a reigning champion and thinking I have maybe 10% chance of winning the race, and I can't.
Falou que achava que tinha 10% de chance de vencer, que geralmente ele entra nas provas, né, quando ele está se sentindo bem com 90% de chance, não fez nenhuma besteira, aí ele ganha, já nas Olimpíadas ele achou que tinha 10% de chance.
Step a single step wrong. That was tricky.
Because your coach at the time, Olaf Alexanderbu, he said that you needed some distraction in 2023 and that the hunger wasn't quite the same. Like, what were you chasing that maybe wasn't Paris? Or do you think it was just an overload?
I guess it was more like an overload. Like, I think
A Frodeno perguntou, né, porque falou que o Olaf, técnico dele na época, tinha falado, né, que 2023 ele não parecia tão faminto assim. Aí o Frodeno pergunta, cara, é alguma coisa, tipo, é a sobrecarga mesmo? Tava cansado? Ou tinha alguma outra coisa rolando? E ele falou, cara, sobrecarga, né, overload.
and I was a little bit, we disagreed a little bit on what went wrong going into Paris.
E aí o Frodeno fala que eles se não concordam, eles estão em desacordo sobre o que aconteceu na preparação para Paris. Ele e o Olaf não sabe, cada um tem uma opinião sobre.
And maybe it was lack of break in between the 22 season and 23. Maybe it was like it was always something happening.
Ele acha que pode ter sido a falta de umas férias ali em 2022 para 2023.
But I also think that maybe the way we went with the training was a bit too much tilted towards long distance, and we didn't use what we learned in the past in training.
E ele fala que acha que o treinamento foi muito voltado à longa distância e não usaram o que eles aprenderam no passado para curta distância. Frase forte aqui dele.
But yeah, like as you know, when you are discussing the plan for training, like you can discuss it as much as you want with the coach, and then together, like you never know for sure in advance. You just agree on going for one pathway or another, and
Mas foi uma decisão que eles tinham tomado, né? Tinham sentado ali, decidido o que iam fazer e seguiram. Então você nunca sabe antes, né, o que vai acontecer.
I just think we went a little bit the wrong way the last 6 months going into Paris.
Então ele achou que foi errado ali nos 6 meses finais ali da preparação para
I have to ask, I mean, I was there as a commentator, right? And I mean, there was a bit of chaos around the course and things were up and down. And I'm sure as an athlete, it was super tough because, you know, you get an email at 4 a.m. saying the day has been changed. But what really struck me, and I've been wanting to ask you this for like 2 years, all of a sudden, I don't know, 48 hours or before, everybody was like, Kristian Blummenfelt is going to win the Tour in 2028 and he's looking for this. And then your coach at the time was going around the village asking other cycling coaches that I knew, and they gave me a call and they said, Jan, what is going on? Kristian, is he like, I mean, it's the Olympic final tomorrow, what turned out to be the day after, and you were sharing cycling plans. What was going on there?
Aí o Frodeno entra num ponto que ele falou, cara, tô 2 anos para te perguntar isso aqui. Para quem não lembra, a gente já fez até esse episódio do TNews sobre isso. Rolou uma fofoca ali em 2024 que o Kristian Blummenfelt mudaria para o ciclismo, que ele seria campeão de algum tour aí até 2028. Foi uma coisa que na época eu achei que era fake news, que era mais papinho ali e tal, e acabou que era verdade. E só que eles estão falando, cara, então às vésperas de você largar nos jogos, tava aquele negócio, para quem não lembra também, em Paris, a qualidade da água estava sendo analisada todo dia, não sabia o dia que ia largar, inclusive a prova seria em um dia, foi adiada em mais um dia, né? Então os atletas receberam horas antes do que era o horário da largada, que a prova seria adiada para mais um dia, para o dia seguinte, né? Então foi meio confuso e ao mesmo tempo o Olav, que era o técnico dele, estava conversando com outros técnicos de ciclismo nas Olimpíadas, perguntando sobre ciclismo. E o Frodeno falou, eu fiquei sabendo disso e tal. Ele falou, pô, será que esse é o momento de falar disso, né? Melhor passar as Olimpíadas?
No, I didn't really share too much cycling plans, but people started talking around, so I didn't say anything really about it. I was just asked around it, and maybe the timing there wasn't the best timing of getting those things leaked out, but
E ele falou, né? Talvez realmente não tenha sido o melhor momento para essas coisas vazarem.
Going into the race, we did talk a little bit with like some different teams, but I wasn't ready to go out with those sort of bold statements that came out a few days before the race. Like,
yeah, I was. Não estava pronto, porque não era o que ele estava na cabeça, mas que estavam olhando
a little bit blown up a little bit. And yeah, my focus wasn't on that at the time. My focus was more on the race itself. But yeah, both went south, I would say.
E ele falou, né? Eu estava focado na prova tudo, mas realmente esse tipo de coisa went south, né? Foi para baixo, né? Nesse período aí.
Yeah, fair enough. But it just struck me as, you know, you're going in as the defending Olympic champion and there's all this thing going on. And I didn't quite understand whether you were trying to just release some pressure or whether this is just something that genuinely happens in your mind and you're just like somebody who has great plans.
O Frodeno tá perguntando, talvez eu até pensei que pudesse ser algo que você estava tentando aliviar a sua cabeça ali, né, que ele era o atual campeão, né, olímpico, estava defendendo o título. E então achei até que pudesse ter sido uma estratégia para se aliviar um pouco essa pressão. Ou se foi algo que realmente acabou acontecendo.
I didn't really comment those rumors at that time. It was maybe Olav who was commenting it to the journalist in the village, and I had nothing to say really. So maybe there was miscommunication there.
Ele falou que quem estava conversando era o Olav, que ele não tinha nada para falar do assunto, mas o Olav estava conversando com alguns jornalistas e tudo.
So from my point of view, it was a bit unnecessary to bring that topic up.
E para ele foi desnecessário trazer esse tópico ali na época do jogo.
2 days before the Olympics, because it's like at that point the focus should have been the race. But again, I don't think that was impacting the results in itself.
Mas ele acha que isso não foi o que impactou realmente o resultado final.
Because I feel I was coming in a little bit like behind where I should have been, like physically, and mentally it didn't bother me too much. It was more like I was running too slow. I think that was the main
Que ele acha que ele realmente estava correndo devagar e por isso que o resultado não saiu como planejado.
An issue in the race.
Yeah, you really strike me as you know Eileen Gu, the free skier, how she always says it's evidence over affirmation. And I feel like you draw all your confidence from the training. Whereas I was always the guy who was like, yes, you can do this. Come on, you can keep going. Do you have an inner dialogue? Like in your mind, do you sometimes coach yourself through like hard moments?
Yeah, but I feel it's strange when I'm training by myself. I'm often thinking like if I'm running hill reps, I can think, oh, this is crap. This feels awful. I could just do the same numbers. But if I ride the same session with Gustav and Casper, I can feel I'm in control. Like this is fine. When I see someone else around me is hurting more than I do, then I can feel more sort of, okay, I'm within myself.
Aí o Fernando perguntou, né, se você tem essas conversas mentais aí internas e tal. Aí ele falou que sim, se eu tô treinando sozinho, às vezes tô numa subida lá, eu tô tipo, nossa, isso aqui tá ruim, isso aqui tá ruim, isso aqui tá ruim. Aí eu vejo os números, falo, nem tava tão ruim, mas sozinho ali tava ruim. Mas agora quando eu tô com o Gustavo ou com alguém lá, começa a ver que o pessoal tá sofrendo, no mesmo ritmo, eu falo, não, isso tá bom, isso tá bom, isso tá bom.
So I feel that the inside monologue is a little bit different if I'm training by myself or if I'm training with others.
Yeah,
E ele fala, isso muda aí quando ele tá treinando sozinho, eu treino com alguém.
Which really brings me a little bit to the origins. I'd like to switch gears here a little bit because we hear about the Norwegian method so much in triathlon. And it's very different to the Norwegian method that we heard about at the Winter Olympics. And I would love to know whether that's something that actually happened to you, because the cultural one, where you're not allowed to keep score until you're 13, you get no medals and results are never published, is kind of the opposite thing of what you and Olaf became famous for. Did you actually have that? Was that actually part of your life?
Agora o Fernando faz a pergunta sobre o Norwegian Method, né? Um método norueguês ali que ficou muito famoso aí, né? Porque ele foi campeão mundial, o Gustav Iden campeão mundial, Casper Storm campeão mundial, agora a gente tem Solveig Lovseth campeão mundial também. E aí o Fernando faz um comparativo que ele fala, o que eu sei do Norwegian Method mesmo, né? Que não é o de vocês, é o da Noruega, do país mesmo e tudo. Mas que tem algumas coisas no infantil ali que até os 13 anos os jogos não tem placar, você não pode ganhar uma medalha até os 13 anos, tem, tipo, não dão esse tipo de premiação e incentivo até os 13 anos, só depois que isso aí vai acontecendo. E ele pergunta aqui se o Frodeno foi impactado por isso.
Yeah, like I do think like it's more important to let the kids be active and enjoy the sport as long as possible. And I think
ele fala que sim, né? E que ele também concorda que é legal você deixar as crianças mais soltas e gostando de esporte, né? Aproveitando o esporte quando criança, né? As crianças sendo criança.
From my standpoint, like I grew up as a swimmer, and I would say I was like a mediocre swimmer.
Falou que, né, que ele cresceu como um nadador, ele veio da natação e falou, né, que era uma natação medíocre.
But it was more like it was a place for everyone, and I really enjoyed the trading aspect of it, combined with I think I've always loved trading. So from my side, I've always
E ele gostava muito, mas ele gostava muito de treinar, gostava disso, do dia a dia ali, da disciplina.
Being a kid who was maybe training too many hours, and maybe the other parents were thinking that it's unhealthy for that kid to be doing 25 hours at that age. But for me, that's always been like
25 hours of swimming.
No, swimming like 20 to 20 with like running and football, and I did every sort of activities.
Yeah.
Aí ele falou, né, que alguns pais até julgavam, que achavam meio excessivo para ele como criança treinar até 25 horas na semana. Aí o Frodeno, 25 horas de natação. Ele falou, não, eu nadava, jogava futebol, corria, então uma coisa bem lúdica ali da Noruega, e era 25 horas de esporte na semana, mas 25 horas já.
But I would say if you look at the training philosophy, has often been from the very beginning when I started with Alid Feiten back in 2010. He was more focused on building that engine than focusing on speed. So our approach to Olympic distance has always been like having bigger capacity and engine, and then have a minimal focus on the speed. So we have just enough speed to have the enough speed to do like for the 3-minute pace for 1K. And, like if I can do a 400 on the track and I can run it below 65 or something, like then I'm definitely quick enough to do 72s on the track.
Aí ele fala um pouco, né, quando ele começou a treinar com o Olaf, a ideia foi muito mais em aumentar a capacidade do que trabalhar velocidade mesmo. Que ele falou, se você depois vai para a pista e faz tiro de 400, né? Que ele falou aí a 65 segundos e tudo. Quer dizer que você tem a capacidade ali para correr rápido, distâncias um pouquinho maiores, mas que primeiro eles queriam criar o volume do atleta, né? O motor para depois botar velocidade.
And it's not the speed that's the limitation factor. So from the young age, when I started working with Adel, it was a lot of threshold
E eles começaram em 2010, tá? A treinar junto, ele e o Olaf.
focus on the training and the ground.
What's young age? Sorry to interrupt, but what age was it?
That's like when I was 16.
Okay.
So I started working with Adel Feiten when I was 16 back in 2010 to 2011 season. And sort of the ground principle were that when I was doing an interval, I should always feel that I had one more repetition in me. And if he told me that I had to do it even like 10 seconds quicker, I should have that in me.
E ele falou que a ideia era sempre ter uma repetição a mais para fazer, tipo assim, terminar o treino sentindo que você pode fazer mais uma repetição, ou se ele falar, ó, se eu precisar que você faça 10 segundos mais rápido, você ainda tem isso. Então a ideia do treino deles em 2016 era
So that
isso.
was like how we were pacing it back then. But he was still a believer in a lot of hours. So then it was like quite important that I did the easy training easy enough. And
E ele falou da importância, né, que estavam treinando muita hora, mas de fazer os treinos fracos de verdade. Já ouviram isso, né? Algumas vezes, né?
When Olaf came on board, then we tried to lift up the training stress on the easy training as well, and also be a little bit more precise on the threshold training. That we were sort of pushing it, like being a little bit more precise on it. But I think that's tricky to do with athletes who is too young of an age. Like I think it's important to do it step by step.
E ele falou que depois eles tentaram ser mais precisos no treino de threshold, né, de limiar, mas que falou que isso é muito difícil com atletas jovens, assim, então tem que ir crescendo, evoluindo passo a passo.
You actually grew up with no scores and just trying all sorts of things.
We like when we're swimming, we have we do have times, like if you're doing a PB or not.
Aí o Frodeno insiste, mas você realmente cresceu sem ter placar em nenhum jogo, nada? Ele falou que não, na natação eles tinham sim, para saber se o atleta fez o personal best, né, o melhor tempo dele.
And I think especially from the swimming background, it's not too important with winning. It's more like you get like a high five and a thumbs up if you're doing a PB.
Ele falou que você ganhava, né, um high five, alguma coisa, você faz o seu melhor tempo.
And that's what every swimmer sort of care about, like their own progression towards the top. Of course,
Ele fala que na natação isso acaba sendo importante, né? Que se você estiver evoluindo seu tempo, você está chegando lá e, enfim, vai acabar ganhando.
want to beat the guy in your club and like at the same age, but if both of you are doing a PB, it's sort of both are winning.
Ele falou, claro, você quer bater no teu, né, vencer o seu companheiro de clube, mas se vocês dois estiverem fazendo o personal best, então tá todo mundo ganhando.
But of course, like when you're playing football or soccer, like you do know if you're winning or not. But like it's just no, I think it's no table score like for the end of the season.
Aí ele falou que, né, no futebol, claro, cada um sabe quando tá ganhando ou não, mas falou que no final da temporada não tem uma tabela, assim, falando quantos pontos fez, o time e tal.
They're just like having fun playing the matches. And I do think they try to make sure that the teams are not getting like tapered. So like everyone gets like a chance to play.
E que todos tenham a chance de jogar, então isso que ele falou, né? Então todo mundo consegue jogar, toda criançada consegue jogar.
It's so fascinating because like I look at it now, right? I have 2 kids and like all the parents that are obsessed with like these childhood prodigies and coming out and winning tournaments when they're like 10, and it's so healthy because in the beginning I had Brad Stolberg on the podcast and we were talking about how important it is to just keep going, keep that development, because what we both have in common, if I can say so, like we're both kind of like failed swimmers. Like I learned to swim and I got down to maybe a minute for 100 backstroke, but it was never anything to really be a swimmer. And we both kind of found this home in triathlon. And, someone else pointed us towards, try this thing. Honestly, you think it would be like nowhere if swimming just had worked out? If we would have just been like a little bit better at swimmer, we would have just like never found our home.
Yeah, probably. Maybe it was.
Aí estão falando, o Fernando falou que ele também era um nadador frustrado, e aí pergunta pro Christian, você acha que talvez se você não fosse talvez um pouquinho melhor na natação, você não teria encontrado o triatlo, né? Porque ele falou, né? Nós dois não éramos bons nadadores e acabamos encontrando o triatlon como salvação, mas talvez se fosse um pouquinho melhor na natação, teria ficado na natação e não teria encontrado o triatlo.
Like a good thing, like because yeah, like if you were like a few seconds quicker, maybe you would have like a gasway towards like swimming and potentially having sort of a mediocre career rather than really finding sports for you.
Aí falou, talvez a gente tivesse ficado lá, teria tido uma carreira medíocre ali, mediana, né? Chama mediocre em inglês, por isso que eu tô falando medíocre aqui, mas a palavra do Blumenfeld, tá?
Yeah. And having that patience and investing the years, because I mean, the same thing, you had a long progression. I think it was like 5 years from your junior success to your first World Cup. And yeah, it's a long time to go without having a real win, right? And you're always just trusting the process. Or did you just perform? What was your kind of ceiling of moving on?
A Frodeno pergunta para ele aqui, né? Porque ele falou, beleza, você começa no triatlon e foram em 6 anos até competir ou até vencer a sua primeira World Cup, né? Tipo, é muito tempo sem vencer e tudo. Como é que você vai progredindo e confiando nisso, né? Você já vem de uma carreira frustrada na natação e vai para outro esporte que ainda demora ainda você conseguir progredir.
I would say I was sort of having like a pathway. Like the progression was, I felt was in the right direction. Like I was just behind the podium, like in 2012 at the Junior World Championship, and then
Ele falou que ele foi sentindo, né, que ele progredia e tudo. Sentiu, em 2012 ele já ficou quase, foi pódio ali no Mundial Júnior, então ele já foi sentindo que estava progredindo.
I've always been early at racing at the World Series. So if I compare myself to other guys in the 1994 generation, I felt I was sort of on pair. I was racing against Dorian Konix, Leo, and who else, like Jake Birtwistle. So
Ele falou, né, que estava correndo com Dorian Konix, o Léo Berger, o Jake Burfuessel.
I was sort of comparing myself a little bit to that generation. And
Se comparando a essa geração, né? Então o Léo Berger foi medalha de bronze em Paris. O Jake Burfuessel tá agora na meia distância, mas não foi um dos grandes nomes. Teve boas temporadas aí, mas não. Imagina, né? Tava vencendo o Christian Blumenfeld mas não conseguiu depois manter isso, né?
I would say I was alongside that earlier generation to perform. Of course, I was later to win a World Series than Alistair Brownlee, as an example, who was probably 21 or 22. But I was like alongside the younger generation to qualify for Rio in 2016. It was like myself, Gordon Benson, and Tyler Mislachuk. So I felt I was having sort of the progression, and
Ele falou, né, que demorei mais a vencer, por exemplo, a etapa da WTCS, né, do que o Alistair Brownlee, por exemplo, mas eu estava naquela categoria júnior ali que estava para se para o Rio, né, então estava progredindo.
Following year, I was getting, or the same season I had some podiums in the World Series, and then the following year I had multiple podiums, but I felt I was like getting close to the front. But I was
E ele foi vendo que ele estava chegando ali na frente, mais pódios e
just
tudo.
missing that win for, I thought I was chasing that win for, 2016 first podium, 17 just podium, 18 just podiums, and then in 2019 in the grand final. So it took a while.
E olha só, que a gente fala, e às vezes, como torcedor, a gente é muito... cobra demais os atletas, né? Então, ó, vou voltar essa fala aqui para vocês. Ó, aqui, ó.
Win for, I thought I was chasing that win for, 2016 first podium,
2016, primeiro pódio em WTCS.
17 just podium, 18
2017, pódio de novo.
just podiums,
2018, pódio de novo.
and then in 2019 in the grand final. So it took a while.
Em 2019, que ele ganhou na Grand Final. Então, olha o tempo que demora para maturar um atleta profissional. O cara fez o pódio lá, você fala, puta, semana que vem ele já ganha de novo. Não, e olha a dificuldade que é. E eu gosto de fazer o paralelo com o Miguel aqui, que o Miguel agora consistentemente fazendo pódio. Então, vocês estão vendo aqui, ó, um pouco de pódio 2016, mais um pouco de pódio 2017, mais pódio 2018 para uma vitória 2019.
Before I was able to grab that tape, and that was more something that I was striving towards. And then there is like some seasons where I had like, I think in 2017 I had multiple podiums, and then signed a lot of sponsors for 2018 and 19, and then like the 2019 season was just starting off crap. I was 32nd in Abu Dhabi in 2019, 32nd in Leeds as well. I crashed out in Hamburg, crashed out in the test event in Tokyo, and at that point I felt I was having a lot of sponsors who was backing me, and I was suddenly just underperforming. And
Aí ele fala que, pô, as coisas estão indo bem, depois começa a dar ruim, não me senti bem em algumas provas, caí, mas eu tinha alguns patrocinadores que estavam me ajudando ali.
that was tougher to feel that pressure, because then I
Mas
had
também estavam pressionando ali, então ele falou que foi mais difícil
people
sentir essa
believing in
pressão.
what I could have done.
E as pessoas pensando no que ele poderia fazer, já que ele venceu uma vez.
I felt I was sort of a little out of control.
I mean, you said publicly plenty of times that the Olympic gold was your goal, which is a world of internal pressure. But then someone's giving you €5.50 and a bike, exaggerated, of course. But you've got your first deals. How do you deal with the external pressure? I mean, other than because you obviously, you had a tough start. But is it something where you can then channel that pressure and really direct it towards making you forward, or does it make you anxious?
Frodeno pergunta agora sobre isso, né? Você tem mais patrocinadores, mais coisas acontecendo, mais gente botando dinheiro em você. Como é que você lida com essa pressão externa?
It's more like you feel you have a deal that you're not deserved, Like you have people believing in you and then you're sort of letting them down, even though they were.
E aí falou, né, que você sente que você tem pessoas acreditando em você e você está decepcionando elas.
Quite supportive in that time, like they were. Like Rebel were more like asking like, is there anything we can do extra to make you feel like you can perform better? Like there was always like sponsors who was backing, but deep inside, like I knew that doing a 30-second place and breaking 2 bike frame already mid-season, like that wasn't really what I like. I knew that they were.
Aí falou, né, tipo, pô, os caras estão aqui me patrocinando, tô ficando em 30º, já quebrei 2 frames de bike, né, por causa de queda. Pô, não tá legal isso.
Asking for more, like deep inside.
Como é que eu vou pedir mais, né?
It's more like, I wanted to perform better. And that was also maybe why the win in the grand final in 2019 was tasting so sweet.
Ele falou que talvez por isso até que a vitória dele em 2019 na Grand Final foi tão doce, né? So sweet.
Because I had such a terrible season all the way until that point.
Que ele teve uma temporada tão ruim até ali.
I felt that the shape was getting better, but I was just failing in the races. I was crashing.
A forma estava melhor, mas ele performava pior nas provas.
Out twice with good shape, and then to be able to win the biggest World Series race of that season over Olympic distance, when 1 year out of what was supposed to be the Olympics, was a big confident booster.
E ele falou, né, que essa vitória ali na prova mais importante, que é a Grand Final, foi realmente o que deu aquela virada de chave, aquele ganho de confiança pro que viria pela frente, né?
Do you have any idea what made you be able to flick that switch? Because when you have, like, momentum is something that flows, right? And when things are going well, all of a sudden everything's going well. But when it rains, it pours, and you turn that around for arguably the race where the pressure is the biggest and the stakes are the highest. And I see it like with a lot of people, they remain Tuesday morning world champions forever because they can perform the craziest number in their local crit. But what do you think it was for you that changed that step from just outside the podium, just on the podium, to winning the biggest race pre-Olympics?
Aí ele pergunta como é que ele flip the switch, né? Como é que ele vira a chave, né? Disso da pressão, de tudo, para performar, né? E poder virar das coisas não estar dando boas para eu virar a chave e o negócio começar a fluir, né, e entrar no flow que ele fala.
I think it was a little bit that we talked about earlier, like that losing those races were hurting so much more. It was so much worse than.
Aí fala, né, ter perdido aquelas provas que machucam mais, né, me fazem refletir mais.
Winning it, and at that point as well, like I went from having been declared sort of the candidate from Norway to go towards the Olympics and being the guy to win the gold, to suddenly to be dropped in training by Gustav on the run sessions in Thailand.
Aí ele falou, eu era o cara que estava como um dos favoritos para medalha, a ser o cara, e passei a ser o cara que era deixado para trás nos treinos de tiro contra o Gustav Iden.
Like a mental switch to, this is, am I going to slip like 1 year out of the games and then being beaten by 2 teammates as well, like in the games, and sort of.
Será que eu vou chegar nos jogos e também ser atropelado, né? Ser batido pelo companheiro de equipe e tal?
Yeah, in my head, I was the guy who was supposed to win the Olympic Games.
Na minha cabeça, eu era o cara que ia ganhar as Olimpíadas.
2020. So I think being sort of challenged as well, like both inside my team, having 2 strong teammates coming through, performing better in training, putting more pressure on me in the daily work, as well as just getting that hunger from the 4 races I did. And also, feeling like I am better than what I'm showcasing at that moment.
Ele falou, né, ter a pressão dos companheiros de equipe, 2 bons companheiros, onde ele podia treinar e ver, né, e voltar a performar. Então sabia também que andando ali com esses caras era bom para ele, né, era positivo para ele. E ele sabia que andando com os caras ali ele poderia retomar essa confiança. Mas também ter perdido as provas foi o que ajudou ele a ficar puto e querer vencer os Jogos Olímpicos.
I mean, that was yeah, certainly something where I think the culture that you guys built was unique. I always say when I was looking at the Norwegian method and what you guys had was always, for me, it was always the two C's. It was carbs and culture that you guys really introduced to the sport.
Aí ele falou, né, o Frodeno brincando aqui, que ele fala do Norwegian Method, são os dois Cs, né, carbo e cultura, né, porque eles botaram muito carboidrato na história.
And turned into something new. Realizing that you've won pretty much everything the sport has to offer. It's Olympic gold, there's Ironman, 70.3, I mean, world record. We can even include the sub-7, even though to me, that's not quite the same league as the other races. But that list is actually almost finished. And when people call you the greatest of all time, does that feel like recognition or expectation?
A Frodeno fala, né, você ganhou muitas coisas e tal e tal. As pessoas perguntam, né, você acha que isso é reconhecimento ou expectativa?
I think both. Like it's a little bit the GOAT terms. I think coming around a little bit easy like these days. Probably like if someone wins a race, they suddenly get the GOAT title straight away.
Ele falou que isso tá meio fácil hoje em dia, né? A pessoa ganha uma prova, já é o GOAT, já.
Well, I do agree. Like I do want to win Hawaii. Like that's something that's missing.
Ele acha que, né, ele acha que pode ser, sim, mas ele fala que não tem uma coisa faltando, que é vencer o Havaí.
And the sport comes from the big island of Hawaii, and it's with all the history there. That's what's driving me more than anything else. I'm also aware that it's like I cannot compete against different generations. Like the same way you couldn't compete against Mark Allen. Like he's having his face of the sport, and he's been bringing it up to that level where.
E ele fala um pouco disso, dessa comparação geracional, né? Eu não pude competir com o Mark Allen, por exemplo, então é difícil falar de GOAT.
It was back in the old school days, and the same like you were bringing up the level in the first guy to go from short course over to full distance with a great success, and also.
Ele fala, né? Não pude competir com você, na época você foi o primeiro cara da curta distância a ter um sucesso grande na longa.
So, maybe the first one to. I would say almost go
primeiro,
outside of triathlon in terms of the interest you have created, and I feel I'm sort of the next generation of that. And
então ele se acha como uma próxima geração disso.
Yeah, I do think I have more to give, but it's more important to enjoy the journey, I would say. And
ele acha que tem mais para dar, mas o importante é curtir o caminho.
Have fun for as long as possible. It's not just about collecting titles just for the title's sake of it. It's also important to enjoy the life balance or the training racing balance.
Ele falou, tem que se divertir, não é só ter títulos por ter títulos, mas sim aproveitar e gostar dessa parte de equilíbrio de treinos e provas.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously super subjective, right? And I think you're making the strongest case anyone has made in a very, very long time, in decades, in fact. But funny enough, I read somewhere that when you started off, Alistair Brownlee was one of your sporting heroes. And he was obviously my greatest rival. What did you see in him that I was probably too busy realizing when I was competing with him? Yeah? What is it that gets you about him?
Aí o Frodeno tá falando que ele leu em algum lugar que talvez o herói ali do Christian Blumenfeld lá atrás fosse era, né, o Alistair Brownlee, que foi o maior rival aí do Frodeno. A gente tem um react aqui com o Alistair, ficou bem massa esse episódio deles. Ele falou, cara, o que você viu no Alistair que eu ali como competidor não conseguia ver, né? Porque a gente estava competindo e tal.
I think it was the aggressiveness, like the way he
Ele
was.
Ele fala da forma agressiva que o Alistair corria, né? Que quem viu era toda hora era ataque.
In the races, he was dictating what everyone was supposed to do.
Tudo,
and when he was walking into a race, he was controlling the room.
E quando ele chegava numa prova, ele controlava o ambiente.
And I think a little bit like that alpha feeling in the race.
O alpha feeling, né?
I was seeing. Yeah, just that pure aggressiveness. Maybe not the best for long distance in terms of pacing, but...
Aí ele falou, né? Talvez não o melhor para long distance, né? Para longa distância, com a estratégia de pacing. Quem viu, né? O Alistair Brownlee realmente sofreu bastante isso na longa distância.
For short course, the pure class of just attacking from the gun was something I was really think it was cool to watch.
E ele falou, né? Na curta distância ele atacava attacking from the gun, né? Na hora que dá a buzina ele já começa a atacar, né? Então era bem assim o Alistair.
And I was first sort of aware of the World Series back in like 2010, 2011. And that was the time when he and Johnny and Javier Gomez was really dominating the sport. And I was more all in towards the Olympics at that time. So I didn't really care about our man or who was winning Kona or that thing. It was just the World Series, and I was a diehard World Series fan. And
Ele falou que acompanhava muito a curta distância nessa época, então não via muita coisa da longa. Aí era Alistair Brownlee, né, e Javier Gomes e o Johnny Brownlee também ali competindo.
turned up, or if you're watching one of the races from that time, like I guess the only screen time or the only athletes who got some screen time was Alistair and Johnny and Javier, because they were the one who was in the front the whole race from the gun.
Ele fala, os três estavam sempre ali, né, na frente da buzina.
And also you can see in the facial expression, like Javier looks so controlled, Johnny sort of in the middle, and then on Alistair you can really see that. Yeah, he would rather die than losing that race, and it was maybe something I felt like was similar to the way I was racing. Like I would rather die than losing in that race.
Aí ele falou que o Alistair, você via a cara, né, o Javier sempre controlado e tudo, mas o Alistair tava sempre aquela cara de tipo, eu prefiro morrer do que perder essa prova.
Man, that guy had us in such control in that time and experiencing it live. You know, now we look back and we're forming a friendship, and we can sort of see like that we were just too similar in many ways, but especially in that time. That's why in this whole discussion, like you said, the term GOAT gets thrown around everywhere and anywhere. But Alistair, to me, definitely has a claim to that title. I know he never had a long-term success, or long-distance success, I should say. But in Olympic distance, it was quite something to witness, because the facial expression and the aura and that anger that he brought to it was definitely quite something.
E o Frodeno fala muito disso, concorda muito, né? Como ele conseguia controlar o pelotão era um negócio absurdo. E hoje eles estão amigos, né? Ele falou, a gente está conseguindo criar uma amizade agora. A gente vê que a gente tem muita similaridade, mas era absurdo o que ele fazia.
Yeah, for sure. And I do think maybe he wasn't the most like he went into the room in the races and he had only sort of his group to care about. Like he was caring about Johnny and a few other Brits, maybe Richard Baga, and then he was sort of controlling the race to his favor.
He was controlling. He was in favor of anything that would up his chances to win the race. If that wasn't, then he wasn't interested.
E falou que ele usava isso muito, usava tudo que pudesse para aumentar a possibilidade dele vencer a prova. No react completo do Alistair, eles falam mais sobre isso, então vamos.
It brings me to 2022, when I had a really bad bike crash. I was in hospital and it was kind of touch and go whether my leg would come back together. And you were like one of the reasons why I was lying there and I was like, dude, I've got to come back. We've got to come. I need to, if I do anything with my life, I want to race this man and I want to beat him one more time. What is
Aí o Frodeno tá falando que em 2022 ele teve uma queda de bike muito séria e tudo, falou que não sabia como é que a perna dele ia responder. Ele falou, cara, eu quero voltar pro esporte, que eu preciso enfrentar esse cara mais uma vez, eu preciso ganhar desse cara, né, que era o Christian Blumenfeld.
it that gets you out the door? Is it chasing or being chased?
Aí ele falou que você prefere, né, ser caça ou caçador?
Chasing.
Ele falou caçador.
Like I do agree. I think you met Olav at the airport in Barcelona before the Olympic Games before the Olympic Games in 2021. So we went up to the altitude camp, and then you were like chatting with him, and you told him something like, Christian might be physically a Terminator, but he's mentally soft as butter.
Olha como que as coisas ficam, né? Aí ele fala aqui que o Frodeno encontrou o Olav no aeroporto em Barcelona e falou, né? Cara, o Christian pode ser o exterminador do futuro, né? O Terminator, né? Que eles chamam em inglês, fisicamente, mas mentalmente ele é tipo manteiga, se derrete igual manteiga.
Physically a Terminator, but he's mentally soft as butter.
Soft as
Yes, stuff like that is just
E o Frodeno, yes.
fucking hell no. I'm fucking gonna prove that guy wrong.
Essa parte é muito boa. Que aí começa os palavrão aqui, aí o Christian fala, eu preciso calar a boca desse cara.
Sure.
Yes.
And stuff like that is just fucking hell no. I'm fucking gonna prove that guy wrong.
I'm fucking gonna prove this guy wrong.
And,
Oh man, that's gold. I love it. Tell me more.
And of course, I was also listening to the Greg Bennett podcast right before the games when you had all the previous Olympic champions on it. And I feel it's people sort of doubting you that you can win. That sort of is more motivation than people just saying, yes, of course you can do it. So
ele falou, né, que eu ouvi muito podcast antes das Olimpíadas ali, a galera falou que ele não podia ganhar e tal. Ele fala, né, é legal ouvir, claro. Eu prefiro ouvir isso do que ouvir quando as pessoas falam, não, você, claro, consegue ganhar, que é isso que dá
And actually, it was a bit another quote. I think it was from Vincent Lewis' YouTube series with Super League that was called Invincible. He started off the 2021 video with saying something like, in France, we have a saying that dogs that bark don't bite. And let's see who barks the most.
Aí ele falou, tá vendo? O cara lembra de tudo. Quem apanha nunca esquece. Essa frase eu carrego comigo. Mas ele falou que tinha uma série, um vídeo no YouTube do Vincent Louis, que ele fala no começo, né? Cachorro que late muito, né? Não morde, né? Ele falou, vamos ver quem late mais ou quem late menos, né? Nessa história aí.
And I do
E eles dois estavam disputando ali os Jogos Olímpicos, né? Então cada um com o seu jogo mental ali.
felt he was referring to me at that time. So I felt that both the guy who was
E ele achou que ele estava sendo pro Christian Blumenfeld, essa frase.
like the two-time world champion going into the games, as well as you who has won it before, sort of were doubting me and sort of just saying that I was a vocal without really having any titles on my shoulder.
Ele achou que, né, que ele fosse muito vocal, falava muito sem ter nenhum título importante.
Then okay, I'm fucking gonna turn this around.
Aí ele falou, ok, então eu vou mudar o jogo aí.
I love it because I always say, like, you do it for 98% of the right reasons in life, and 2% is for the assholes out there, you know, the people that say you can't do it. What do you think it is that, you know, really fires you up? Because there's something special that you can take that negative energy and turn it into something.
I'm not sure. Like, I feel sometimes difficult to say, like, what's the reason why? Because even like in the days we think, okay.
Ele falou, né, o Frodeno falou que 2% do que você ouve das coisas é de gente que você quer calar a boca delas, né? 98% que você acredita e tal, mas 2% é daquela galera que você quer calar a boca. Aí falou, como é que você canaliza essa energia?
Yeah, like, why do I do it? Like, is it that fun to go out and train 6, 7, 8 hours a day? But then still I can catch myself being on training camps with the boys and then out on the hour 8 and just thinking, okay, I'm loving it, you know, like I'm in the zone. I'm feeling that the body is close to be bonked, but I know that I'm having a rest day tomorrow. I've been pushing the guys to the limit for the whole day now, and I think it's like that playfulness on the day that still sort of get me out there, so I can still enjoy.
Ele falou, né, que tá ali se sentindo bem nos treinos, mesmo 6, 7 horas por dia, 8 horas por dia. Ele gosta do jogo ali, né? Do treino, de estar com os amigos ali, com os training partners, né?
The weekly days as well as much as the race days. So like we had Marius Bjerkstedt, as example, joining us for camp in Lanzarote, who was sort of coming in quite cocky and reckoned he would drop us quite easily on the bike. Just the feeling to be able to drop him twice within a week on intervals is sort of like, it's a small victory, but it's a good one. Like, it tastes good.
Aí ele falou, né, que teve um cara, com o companheiro de treino, um cara foi treinar com eles em Lanzarote, falou que ia deixá-los para trás, aí ele falou que deixou o cara para trás 2 vezes na semana, e falou, isso tastes good, né, eu gosto disso, são pequenas vitórias.
The little feelings. It tastes a lot better than being dropped, that's for sure.
Motivo ali.
It's really interesting because going into Milwaukee, the 2024 season, I sort of tried something similar again, because I knew physically on paper, I mean, you're in the prime of your shape, and I was, you know, suffering to come back. And it really, I always did wonder whether I got in your head a little bit and whether it actually landed, or if I just got lucky on the day.
Eles se enfrentaram em 2023, né? O Frodeno tá perguntando, né, se eu realmente entrei na sua cabeça naquele dia ou se eu só tive sorte.
I wouldn't say lucky on the day. I was more. So in 2023, we both raced in Ibiza a few months before.
I was 23. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah. And I think it was more like I was maybe cocky going into the race. Like, I had a great swim, was getting a gap early on the bike and sort of wanted to put pressure. And to be honest, I thought that you were struggling. So I thought you were sort of out of the race, and I was looking more at Magnus. And so I was more on the aggressive side until the 20K, and then I felt cooked. So I would like to think that it was not that I lost the mental battle, but it was more like the physical one.
Ele falou que na prova, né, que eles se enfrentaram, ele achou que o Frodeno estava sofrendo um pouco, então ele atacou, mas aí no quilômetro 20 da bike ele já assistiu, ele falou cooked, né, senti cooked, cozido já.
But that is, again, one of the races that I've heard the most of losing. Because also when I crossed the finish line, I could see, like, your joy, you know, I feel you were celebrating even more, like louder when we came in, you know, just to...
Na verdade ele fala Ibiza, mas não foi Ibiza, foi o US Open. na PTO, onde o Frodeno ganhou e ele foi terceiro. Ele falou: Eu acho que inclusive você tá comemorando mais ainda quando me viu cruzando a linha de chegada.
To throw some salt on my sores. So
And this was the difference. That for me, I knew this was my last shot. Like for me,
O Frodeno tá falando, cara, a grande diferença é que eu sabia que ali era a minha última chance de te vencer.
I actually realized this is my one and only ever shot, because mentally I was done. Like my career, and I was happy, and I have my family, and life is good. It's just I could really put myself in the dark place, because you're not wrong. I was dying. I was very much dying, and seeing you at the front, and I was like, oh man, why couldn't you just shut up? Because I was like, I poked the bear, and now it's coming, and now he's angry.
Aí ele tá falando, né, que eu tava realmente cansado ali, que, né, tava sentindo, e falou, pô, por que que tu ficou falando demais e tal? Por que que você cutucou a onça com vara curta ali e fez o cara acelerar?
And
Mas que pra ele era a última chance, ele tava bem, a família tava bem, que era a última chance que ele tinha de vencer o Chris.
it wasn't. It genuinely, because I wasn't aware. I saw the images afterwards, and it was the same time that my best friend came across the kind of the finish area. And I think we both kind of knew this might well be the last time that we get to celebrate like this. So it was, yeah, I don't think it was louder, and I didn't want to throw salt, but it was a good celebration.
but in the same time, you
Aí ele falou, né, que um amigo dele foi na chegada e tudo, então eles meio que foi o momento que eles dois, ele e o amigo lá, entenderam que, cara, você tinha só essa chance, você conseguiu nessa chance.
felt like it was your last chance to beat me. I also felt it was my sort of last chance to beat you. Like
E ele falou, eu também achava que era a minha última chance de te bater.
we only had, I think we only raced twice, and that was in Ibiza where Max Newman sort of came out and took the win, and then
He threw
Ele falou, aqui, ó, a gente se enfrentou em Ibiza e quem ganhou foi o Max Newman. O Blumenfeld ficou em segundo, o Frodeno em quarto, e depois no PTO Open o Frodeno ganhou e o Blumenfeld foi terceiro.
salt. He threw salt. He called your whole method, and he was angry at the finish line.
the bullshit Norwegian scientific method.
E falou aqui, quando o Max Newman ganhou essa prova, falou, as besteiradas desse negócio de método norueguês, não sei o quê, enfim. Max Newman, inclusive, sumiu, nunca mais conseguiu performar.
But yeah, it cost him like a stress fracture to take that win, I guess. So
E acabou tendo uma fratura por estresse depois dessa vitória.
Haven't seen him
was good.
since.
no, so
E sumiu
yeah,
depois
like
disso.
I did think that okay, this is probably the last battle we will have, and that's also why it was. Yeah, like you can't redo a race. Like the winner takes it all on the race day.
I think you've done okay. I think you've done all right. And in the end, you know, it's one race, but one memory. And
Aí ele falou, né? Pô, você foi bem na prova e tudo, e foi bom. Uma prova, uma memória.
it gets me to the idea of you recently having changed coaches, actually changing to being self-coached. So you and Olaf kind of built something over years that nobody had ever seen, especially
Agora o Floriano vai falar um pouquinho da mudança dele, né? De decidir ser do Christian ser seu próprio
in
treinador.
triathlon. You split up. Now you're writing your own plans, making your own calls. But you mentioned earlier you still have him as a soundboard. But what does it feel like, kind of being self-coached? I've never been self-coached.
Yeah, so I'll say the relationship I've had with
Ele pergunta, né? Como é que é se treinar?
the coaches since 2010 have always been a little bit like not like or like physical with a physical distance. So when Ariel came on board for the first 10 years, he was giving me training programs, and I had to sort of do it like over like emails. So he was never like on deck watching me. So a lot of the philosophy were that the
Ele falou que ele recebia muito treino por e-mail, né? O cara não estava necessariamente sempre com ele ali.
smarter the athletes were, the more decisions they could do in the training in order to get to the top. So it's always been like an educational relationship where they've sort of been explaining what we're doing and why. And the end goal has sort of been that we could sort of take the decisions ourselves. And I do feel that, like after 2024, that we maybe didn't use the learnings we had done over the last 15 years in order to, like, we always wanted to reinvent the wheel rather than using the knowledge we had from the past. And together with Gustav and Casper, we wanted to do a little bit more what has been working in the past.
E eles quiseram voltar um pouquinho, né? A decisão de voltar um pouco à origem, ver o que funcionava para eles, tá com os três juntos, né? Então um é meio que o técnico do outro também se ajudando, observando as coisas.
And it was, I would say, not scary, but like it's a big step to take out from those safe environments. And for the first year, I really felt like I wanted to do a little bit of contrast to what was done in 24. And
No começo ele queria, né, um contraste do que foi feito em 2024. Acho que muito do que deu errado em Paris, né? Acho que também isso motivou um pouco a mudança.
Luckily, we had a good start of the season, and it was like easy to have this positive momentum in the group. And so I didn't talk too much with Ola like for the first 6 months about the training because I just wanted to do it my way.
Ele falou que nos primeiros 6 meses não conversou muito com o Olaf.
And
Yeah.
then after the 2025 season, it's been more like natural to sort of have a guy to discuss with, like just to get like a neutral opinion on the program, what he reckon we should focus on, and I think it's healthy to get some
Aí hoje tem o Olaf mais como um consultor ali, eles trocam ideia, mostra qual é o plano que eles estão desenvolvendo, o que que acha que pode ser legal fazer ali.
skeptical eyes on
E ter
what you do.
uma opinião de fora, né? Olhos mais céticos.
So I have to sort of argue or defend why I'm doing what I think I'm doing, and then maybe I'm just following what I still wanted to do, but then I can also look back and see, yeah, maybe he was right or maybe it worked.
E aí você pode ver o que deu certo, o que deu
Because
errado.
I think about it, and I just mean the cognitive load, of being there and having to make the decisions. And also in the middle of the session, you're feeling tired after, I don't know, 10, 12, 15 by 1K, however many it is. And you're like, okay, should I do 3 more? Should I not? Having that objective person that takes away the fatigue and allows you to focus on your training only. Do you think it's something that, for now have you noticed that? It takes the energy?
Aí o Fernando pergunta, né? Porque você vai ter que querer se treinar mais, né? Tipo, você não acha que isso drena um pouco a tua energia também, de ficar pensando nas coisas e tal?
No, I wouldn't say that. Like, because
Ele falou que não, porque
I've never had a coach who said like enough is enough.
ele falou que nunca teve um técnico que falou, tá bom, chega, tá
I've
bom.
always been the guy who had to say, okay, I'm too tired, I have to call it a day.
Ele falou, ele que era o cara que tinha falado, cara, não, realmente eu tô muito cansado e pra mim não dá mais.
Both Alvil and Olav have been on the more like more is more
O Olaf era mais é mais, tem que fazer mais.
side of it. So yeah. So I would say the first learning I had was back in the end of 2011 season when I was like a junior. And I was getting to the point where I was a bit burned out from the program from Alvil, because it was just, a lot of volume, a lot of threshold, and more than I was tolerating. And then we had to sort of have a few weeks of almost like restarting, just let the body rest. And from that point, I was very focused on making sure that my body is absorbing the training.
Ele falou que tem uma época que eles treinavam muito volume, muito limiar. E ele falou que a época ele não estava aguentando mais, que ele realmente precisou tirar o pé um pouco, deixar o corpo absorver tudo isso aí.
So yes, I agree that we needed to train more. We needed to train a lot of threshold and like more hours than the rest. But I still need to make sure that I'm absorbing the training. If I'm just feeling like for every interval session I'm doing, I'm just getting more and more tired and I'm not feeling I'm responding it.
Aí ele fala, né, que ele tem que sentir que o corpo, que ele tá absorvendo, que o corpo tá evoluindo. Então, tipo, ele falou, cara, se cada sessão só me sentir mais e mais cansado, alguma coisa tá errada.
Then I'm sort of doing it for nothing. So I think that was maybe one of the good learnings I had from my earlier career.
Eu acho que esse foi um dos aprendizados aí do começo de
It's crazy
carreira.
because from the outside, it's kind of like this whole system that's built around data and removing subjectivity, but there is still a lot of human in there. Because I was actually curious, did you ever feel like a science experiment? I mean, you guys were collecting so much data.
Yeah,
Ele perguntou se ele acha que eles eram um laboratório, né?
sometimes I feel like we've been sort of a lab rat, but it's still like
Eles falam
I
que
feel
às
that's
vezes
giving
sim,
us
parecia rato
we've been using
laboratório.
it in a playful way in order to figure out more areas to potentially get like a competitive advantage.
Mas ele falou que quando sentia que isso poderia trazer vantagens competitivas, fazia diferença continuar.
Especially for the first going into Tokyo, maybe even for 2022, I felt that we used it in a good way to sort of be really well prepared.
Ele falou que isso ajudou muito na preparação ali para Tóquio.
And maybe
Bom, galera, agora no finalzinho ele faz algumas perguntas ali, pergunta da galera e tal, mas acho que deu para ter uma noção ali um pouquinho de como é a vida de Christian Blumenfeld, do embate que ele teve com o Frodeno ali, que foi bem massa de falar, como um motivou o outro, e conseguir também entender um pouco do método norueguês. Bom, ouçam aí o episódio completo, tá bem massa. Espero que vocês curtam aí esse react, ficou longo, porque o episódio era longo também, tem que parar para fazer comentários. E, enfim, mas é isso. Valeu, galera. Boa semana para vocês e bons treinos.